meeting to order. Pursuant to the state executive orders, we are conducting this meeting with remote attendance, which is information available on the agenda. Do I have a motion on approval of the agenda?
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
I second.
Thank you. All in favor, Sophia?
Aye.
Greg?
Aye.
Amy, yes. The minutes of the March 10th meeting are included in the packet that Rick sent to us. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes?
I have none.
I have none. I read them this morning, so they look good.
Same here.
Okay, a motion on approval of the minutes
Move to approve.
Second.
and voting, Sophia,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
Amy, yes. Public comment, also pursuant to executive order, we have published how we take public comment. Rick, are there any public comments? No. There are none. Okay. Old business is we wanted to talk about capital needs. Greg was going to say something about that before we got started. Then we told him to wait. So.
Okay. Well, the thing that some time ago had kind of given that assignment. I started a discussion with Mike Pritchett, but we haven't concluded the discussion. I'll push forward to finish that. And what we're looking at is kind of facility stuff, roof, HVAC, et cetera, et cetera. But we, when Mike and I talked about it, we thought that, we've done a lot of things with the facility in the last years. All the air handling system is upgraded and new. The parking lot, we did a lot of the lighting stuff we did with LED lighting. So there's a couple things that come to mind that Mike and I've talked about. I mean, one is the roof. What's the life of the roof? And another is the boiler in the mechanical room. The boiler runs fine, but we continue to have issues from time to time with it. There's times that in the past when Johnson Controls would come in, we always identified that as part of the project, but it was the investment, there wasn't a big return on the investment, so the city never did it. But I think it's getting closer that we might have to, think about doing something. But at the same time, when we set up the building fund, there's a good sum of cash. There is a very good sum of cash that is available in the building fund for capital needs for this facility. So at least my view of it is that we're in good shape right now, capital, wise, building wise, and so on. But I'll finalize that thing with Mike Pritchett so we can come back and have kind of more information for the board here in the finance committee. So that's kind of my comments on capital. The second thing I wanted to just talk about is the grassy sections of the parking lot.
Before you go on to part two, can I just say about part one, really appreciate you doing that. Obviously the roof and the boiler, when we need to do it, are going to be huge projects.
Was the boiler not just rebuilt? Like
no, Johnson Controls. No, we did not do that.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
But so it's just something that Greg, I very much appreciate your continuing to keep us aware of this and monitoring the situation so that we don't, that we're planning ahead. So yeah, I just wanted to say that you can go on to part two now.
Okay. Well, part two is the parking lot or the grassy knolls on the parking lot. And I guess I'm looking for opinion. Rick's, Robert's, Amy's, Sophia's, this disappointed in the work that Christy Foltz, landscaper, did when they did that project, but we probably have no remedy. And right now, as we get to the spring season, the city lining up the people that are going to cut grass and do the fertilizing and stuff like that. And I've talked to Public Works just in the last days. The question with the parking lot is, or the grassy areas there is, there's some grass coming up, the north, the south, the east, but there's a lot of weeds in there. There's still a lot of rocks. Okay, and we're trying to determine. I mean, do we have to do we have to do something where we dig all those rocks out and re-put topsoil down and then redo everything? Or can we proceed forward with the grassy areas they are? And I guess I'm looking for opinions that Rick, you, Robert, and others have, maybe about that, because at least what I always remember is there was a time when we talked about the grassy areas that those could be summertime additional venues that you guys could use, for different programs and that.
I wouldn't say that we couldn't now. I mean, pandemic notwithstanding. I mean, it's a lot better than it was last fall. Could it be better? Yeah, it could be a lot better. But yeah, it's I mean, at least it, you look out on it and it's green now, but there are a couple of patches, and yeah, there are a lot of, it's very rocky. And I told that guy that last year, and he, peed on my shoes and told me it was raining. Oh, that's that way in every yard. Ain't that way in my yard.
Yeah. Well, I guess
and those rocks are killer for grass. I mean, they'll just kill it. So.
Well, right now what we're doing is I talked to Public Works, myself, Mike Pritchett. I'm going to arrange time probably early next week. Then we just go over there and we stand there and walk through the grass and look at the grass all at the same time. So we kind of come away with the same opinion and conclusion. Okay. That's one thing. The second thing is that city purchasing is trying to get some landscaper to come in and kind of give us an opinion. Can we just continue to heavily seed and fertilize, and will that do spraying for weeds? Is that approach, does the expert think that approach is a good approach, or do we have to get more drastic and actually, dig out rocks, put more new topsoil down and start again? And if we go that route, that would be an expense of the city. If we go that route, that's kind of something we'd probably have to take at least to the city manager and have him on board. I can't tell people just to go ahead and do that, because it could cost a bunch of money. I mean, I don't know.
Hey, Greg.
$20,000, something like that.
Hey, Greg, this is Robert.
Yes.
Yeah, we had a little bit more in-depth conversation after Rick walked away. I think I told Rick some of it. Part of the problem is they started out with a bad foundation, and they went the cheap route, not the city, but the contractor. So there was a solution, as you say, to remove the rocks. Now, there's a couple of things they could do. Is they could actually just bring a machine through and pull those rocks out, so you don't have to remove all the dirt. So they were talking about those solutions where they could drag those rocks up, and because you're going to be throwing seed on rocks. So last time I can remember, our discussion was that's what they were going to do: take a rake, one of those power rakes or what have you, and work on getting those rocks out, so it wouldn't be so expensive to just maybe put more earth down and then start the reseeding process. So I was a little surprised when they didn't get as much, the rock out that we talked about, but they started the reseeding process and hoped that, it would grow around the rock. That's kind of where I left it when I was in the meetings with the guys.
They skipped that step altogether.
Right. Right. Exactly.
Even after we all stood out there and went, look, I mean, everywhere you look, there's this is not going to work.
I think that the weeds are just going to come back as long as they don't get rid of the rocks. I mean, I think we're going to have weeds and not grass.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's very disappointing that you guys paid that much for the parking lot and then they gave us that. I mean, I don't know.
And I pointed that out in that meeting, standing out in that dirt. It's a bad look after
right.
Kind of money is spent. It's a bad look to not, to have a green space that's rocks and weeds. it's not that bad anymore. It is better than it was than when we had that conversation. So
Right. Well, you know, certainly, in fact, because we're going to do this tonight, you know, I don't know, sometime this afternoon, I went over and kind of got out of the car and walked around and looked and so on. And, you know, the center area, the center, that's very nice, you know, and that's what, when I look at it, that's what the other areas should be. At least the north and the south. The east we can deal with longer term. But
that was sod. They laid sod down there.
Yeah. What I was thinking is wanted to get the opinion of the board, because, you know, I think if depending on how we go, and we'll talk more about it, that if we kind of move in the direction that we think we should, you know, spend a bunch of money to pick up the rocks and kind of new topsoil and start again, it would be good to have, that's what the board wants to do, you know, you know, the board can talk to the mayor, board can talk to the city manager, you know, as kind of collectively as a group, and have one voice coming from the board just to advocate, this is what we need to do.
I'm on board with saying that this is what we do need to do. And I mean, the city would pay for it, right? Not the library. I mean,
city would pay for it, but that's why we've got to convince.
I just feel
the mayor,
so
the city manager,
disappointed that the city kind of got ripped off with that. I mean, I don't know how much you guys paid for it, but.
Well, I mean, the parking lot was between $1 and $1.1 million. That was the whole thing, including the tear down of the annex.
I mean, to me, for that
everything.
amount of money, we should have gotten grass on the north and south.
Yeah. Well, there's a general belief that the contractor did a poor job, but Public Works feels at this point we have no recourse back at them. So anyhow.
Well, perhaps the best course of action is we could talk to Samantha about getting it on an agenda next month. A discussion to lead to some sort of resolution to, you know, at least express, you know, the board's collective desire and thoughts on this. Something along those lines.
Yeah, actually, that's a good idea. I mean, you know, let's say the board does a resolution, passes a resolution, and that's delivered then to the mayor and the city manager. Yeah.
And it would be awfully good, Greg and Rick, if we could have, you know, a letter from the landscaper you're consulting saying, you know, if you leave the rocks in, you're never going to get grass. You can seed as much as you want.
Right.
It's not going to work.
Right.
So.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm having purchasing get in. I talked to Mike Pritchett today about it as well. I'll talk to Debbie Perry tomorrow, but I'm going to get purchasing to, you know, to get an opinion from somebody, okay, some landscaper or whatever, and then we'll talk some more, you know, here at the board level. Okay.
Great.
Sounds good.
Yep. Thank you so much for doing that. Okay, I don't think there's any other old business, so we'll go on to new business. And Rick has sent us the check register through March 31. I highlighted a number of items. It's sort of the same. So maybe Rick, you could give us kind of a summary answer. We've got some big electronic databases. We've got Gale, we've got Zubeen, we've got EBSCO. Could you just, my perennial question, what are we doing to promote the use of our electronic websites to the public in any sort of targeted way?
Probably not enough. I mean, one of the things that is being rolled out, we hope this month, is a discovery service that will allow, so when you search now, it's for any topic, you're going to get results not only of in the collection, but you're going to get results from the databases. So you're going to be,
that'll be helpful.
You're going to be searching across everything at the same time.
And that will be through the main search.
Right on the front page of the website, where there's a green search arrow at the top. Let me share that with you. So the search arrow right here, the search box right here,
Yep.
will allow, you know, we're going to have, so it will allow you to search across everything. So we had a few, we've been working on this for a while. And finally think we've got pretty much all the bugs worked out, and it's kind of awesome. So that's one thing that we think that will do it. But I mean, here's what, for me, what it comes down to, and you talk to every library director or collection development manager in a mid-sized to large public library, you hear the same thing. At some point, we have to think about not subscribing to databases, because you can do backflips all day and they're just getting less use. But it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation, because if you don't have them, there's definitely criticism for not having them, but they're incredibly expensive and they're not well used at any public library that I'm aware of. We're hoping that this, you know, this enhanced discovery service will be something that does it. We hoped that a redesigned website would be part of it, but that doesn't work either. I know what you're saying about targeted, but most of these are general information databases. I mean, not all of them.
But I'm just, you know, making people more aware that they exist, you know, is one thing. But that's really interesting to know that all kinds of libraries are having trouble with use, because Google is so ubiquitous, and you think you've gotten the right answer after you Google.
Even academic libraries, to some degree, Amy, you can't get the undergrads to use the database. That was my experience 12 years ago, doing reference work at an academic library. And then when you do get them to use it, they think they know how to use it, and they don't. But it's you keep it on for the academics. I mean, for the, you know, for the actual for the faculty, because they really do use it. You know, we get sometimes really good numbers from novelists. That's one that was renewed this month, but a lot of that's us, but which is okay. I mean, we have good uses for novelists, but those aren't all databases. Just to be absolutely clear, Zubin is the platform that we're using for a remote summer reading program. We used it last year also. It's on twice because somehow we never paid for it last year. They let us use it all year, and we never paid for it. So we paid for it last year's and this year's.
And it worked very well, right? You're very.
It did work very well. Yeah, we were happy with it. I mean, it wasn't, you know, it wasn't an in-person summer reading, but it was as good a substitute as we could have asked for.
Okay, well, that's certainly something we need to talk about. We'll just make a mental note to talk about then when we do the next budget. If that's a real thing that people, even if you stand on your head, people aren't using, then we really need to look at that.
We're for sure going to eliminate either Gale or EBSCO. But EBSCO is providing us with the discovery service. Gale's got some sort of boutique, or I guess is the right word, niche kind of things that we like, but you know, put them on the website, people use them like this, and then it goes. I think we'll probably be, but so what is working for electronic resources? What is working is the circulating type of stuff, the stuff you check out for a while, like a streaming audio book or an ebook, or to some degree the video and music. That is working. It is growing. It is taking off.
Right.
And
we've got nice stuff. We really do. We have really nice stuff.
So the downside to getting rid of databases is this. When we have a particularly tough reference question, if we don't have the database, we have no way to access it. Everything is not freely available on the web, and things are behind the paywall. And we're trying to take care of that paywall for everybody. But Google is winning the battle.
Yes. What about, is there any opportunity for cooperating with other libraries, since
Yes.
they all have the problem that one library buys Gale and one buys, another
Yeah,
one.
and that's something to explore further, because we've done that with some other electronic resources, and it probably is a good way to go in the future, is to see if we can, the vendors aren't all that crazy about it, but
I'm sure they hate it.
yes,
They're not going to help you.
right. But I've found that if you come to them with people that are ready to sign, they will do it. We have done it in a couple of situations. We did it on the Demographics Now a couple years back, where we got several entities, not just libraries, involved. And everybody loved it. Here's one. I talked to every business group in the area, and not just me. So did Rachel over at Forsyth and Maria at Mount Zion. And everybody loved it, and nobody used it. You know who used it? The Economic Development Corporation. I was talking to Andrew over there, and I said, we're thinking about dropping this. And he said, oh, why? It's great. And I said, yeah, we're getting about 20 uses a month, and the price is X. And he goes, 20 uses a month? Well, that's me. So they were the ones using it, the Economic Development Corporation, and they were sad to see it go. But they also pulled their money out of it after the first year. They put some money in the first year. They're tough decisions to make, but I think that maybe it's just more investment in the traditional books and audio books and that sort of thing.
Okay, thanks. And then my other question on the checks, and it is awfully hard to concentrate when the adorable puppy is sometimes on the screen.
She was bothering me.
So cute. How is Jessica Hill working out?
Perhaps saved a life the other day. Someone going into a very, very serious diabetic issue, emergency, and that person was discovered on her. She does rounds around the building, and she also, she's worked inpatient. She has a bit of a medical background. So she recognized that and got the paramedics here and probably saved the guy's life. So that's pretty cool. She hasn't had a lot to do, and I know that's not what anybody wants to hear, but you know why? Because right now I'm sure this will be used against me later, but it's my understanding that there's not really much homelessness in Decatur right now, because there's a lot of federal money due to COVID. And if nothing, people are being put up in hotels. There's just not a lot of folks right now who are completely undomiciled. I don't think that's going to last forever, but there's federal monies right now, and people are getting the help they need. Now that's not the only reason she's here, but that was her main, when she was this last summer, when she was interning with us, that was what kept her busy, so we found other ways to utilize her expertise, and we're hoping to find more, but right now it's been, the good news is she hasn't had a lot to do. The bad news is she hasn't had a lot to do. So,
well, Rick, maybe she could use this time to really develop good, strong connections with all the other agencies in town, so she's got those resources.
Yeah. And she's been doing that. She's working with, I can't remember the name of the group now. But she's meeting with a lot of there's a monthly meeting of organizations in town that address homelessness. To coordinate services, and she's gotten involved in that. And yes, she is reaching out to other agencies, and she's getting to know people. And we're asking her to develop some training things for us so that she can send out weekly tips on how to work with folks who may have various either housing issues or mental illness issues or things like that. So.
Okay. Greg or Sophia, do you have any questions on the checks?
I do not.
Okay, so could I have a motion that we will
Oh,
forward?
sorry, I was saying, you guys just covered the ones I was thinking about were the big ticket items,
Okay.
So
The
if I move
databases.
I move a motion to approve the check payments.
I second.
Great, thank you. And send it on to the board, right?
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Amy, yes. Okay,
Yes.
yes. Okay, everybody, yes.
Yes.
Then we'll go on to the budget versus actual report, which is this one. And Rick, the copy I have is February, is that right?
Yeah, it's I'm editing that as we speak on my copy. This is at least I believe this. Yeah, this is the right one. So I just didn't update the dates in the corner.
Okay, but are the numbers correct?
Yes,
then?
the numbers are correct.
Okay, and at the end of March, we're at 33%, right? Not 17%.
I believe so. Let me just
So it looks,
let me just double check my spreadsheet and make sure. Yes, it is. Everything but the dates, the stuff up at the top is correct. So I will get that edited before tomorrow's meeting.
so on terms of running rate, payroll and benefits are well below our running rate. Is that?
Yeah, but keep in mind that there are 2 3 paycheck months, and we haven't hit one of those yet. That is
April is one.
April is one. So.
And I'm sorry, my math is wrong. It's 25%, not 33%. Quarter of the year.
Yeah.
Because that's the admin fee is of course exactly 25%. So looks like pretty much expenses are running as you would expect. And of course we wait for property taxes. And all other is lumpy. So Rick, are there any issues that you're aware of?
Well, in my no, nothing to be concerned about. So in my projection, I'm looking at right now, PPRT is coming in at a rate that exceeds budget, and I base that on it comes in very lumpy, as Greg mentioned. But based on past, it looks pretty good. And I peeked in yesterday, and the April distribution is pretty strong too, stronger than I would have predicted based on the budget. So that could turn out really well. One of the things that Robert and I looked at yesterday, and we made some changes to. Is telephone. So the hotspots have been up until this point paid for through grants, or most of them, not all of them, but so they've been showing up on a different line than the telephone line. And this month that money has been expended. So we looked at it, and we looked at usage, and we decided because we negotiated the contract this way that we could do that. We decided to suspend. How many of them was it, Robert? Was it 8?
Yes, 8.
So we suspended 8 of the hotspots for now. So we won't be charged for those until we decide to fire them up again, and we'll just see what demand does.
Are we having less demand now that things are a little more regular?
Robert could speak to that better than me, but we did have some that went on. It looked like we had some that went unused last month.
Right. It's been weird actually. When we were closed, there was right before we closed, you couldn't, I mean, you'd have to wait months, you know, to get one. And so after we closed, there was a little bit more demand. And so it sort of went down. And now that we've opened, we haven't had as much demand, you know, so I imagine that will change. But as Rick said, with the way we have it, the contract set up, we can reinitiate that anytime. And we actually, literally, we could go 6 months, you know, without using some of them. So we only are really locked in for 6 months on the contract for those hotspots. So we still have the equipment. We just turn the service back on when we decide we want to use it.
So you really, there's nobody on the waiting list. You're not even using the
Right now, no, there's no one on the waiting list. We have like, so if you want one, you know, now's the time. We have, or tell your friends, we have basically about 6 of them waiting on the waiting list. I mean, just on the shelf right now. So, but I really don't expect that to last very long. I would imagine by mid-May, it'll go back up. And the list will, you know, will be the same way it was before we went into shutdown with COVID.
But there's nothing I'm seeing right now that's got me concerned. You know, it looks like salaries might be. There's a couple of ways I can model that, and I model it 3 different ways, and then I pick the worst case scenario to show you guys. It could go, salaries could run a little high, like literally a couple $1,000s, but nothing I'm worried about at this point.
Yeah, it looks like the pluses and minuses come out at least this point to the plus side. So,
But are you guys going to be able to do any conferences or training this year? Like, is it all going to be virtual?
It's virtual,
Okay.
which, you know, the good news is it saves money. The bad news is I, for one, would like to never attend another webinar for the rest of my life.
Well, part of what you get about doing it in person is you make connections and you actually get to discuss real life, what's going on, and you don't just get ideas from the people that are speakers. You get ideas from the attendees as well, and that's valuable.
And there's a lot of value, I think, especially at ILA, because, you know, there's, after a while, you get to know a lot of people. There's value in after the conference, going out to dinner and things like that, and getting to know some people and exchanging ideas and that sort of thing. Don't get quite as much of that as at the national conferences, but some. But, you know, on the other hand, you know, we're sending, there's a staff level conference called Reaching Forward, and we're sending like 12 people, you know, so that's awesome. You know, it's because it's $50 a person, you know, for
that's nothing.
3-day conference, and those folks don't always get to, these are, you know, frontline staff that don't always get to attend that stuff. So that's great. You know, and you know, it doesn't hurt to save money. So.
right. Well, everything's a mixed bag. There are pluses and minuses, right?
Yep.
Greg, have you heard anything about when the property tax bills are going to go out this year?
Let's see. I talked to the clerk's office. They're still waiting for the
Treasurer.
What's today? Today's Wednesday. This was as of the end of last week. They were still, Tanner was still waiting. The clerk was still waiting for the multiplier.
Right.
That was their holdup. And they had no expectation of when they would get that. So, you know, I mean, normally, I mean, there's no reason to believe that they're not going to go out as normal.
Right.
Sometime in early May, but that's the only information I could give.
Just curious if you heard anything. Okay, great. Well, Rick, thank you for this information. I know there isn't anything else on the agenda, if anybody else has any other new business. Can we see the doggy again, please?
Oh yeah, I'll get her. Hazel.
There's a dog deficit.
I got her. There she is. Say hello.
Oh my God.
I had her in dog jail. That's what we call it. We go to dog jail. Is that sad?
Just adorable. So
She's sweet, but she
cute.
takes a lot of work.
and pretty hairy too.
Yeah,
I always say never another puppy, and then it happens.
I know.
Oh my gosh. Just like
She's got eyebrows though. I don't know if you guys can't see it, but it's actually really cute.
well, I will take a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I second.
Okay, all in favor? Sophia,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
Amy, yes. Thank you all.